Hello, my name is Francesco, and on behalf of the Langley Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to welcome you to our series on resilience. And as resilience relates to business and organizations, the impact that COVID has had on not only organizations themselves, but the people within the organization, there's a lot to talk about here. And with that, I would love to introduce you to Deborah Broznitsky. Did I pronounce that correctly?
That's right.
I did it. Good.
You did it well.
Yes.
You did it well.
She is the, and I believe is it acting HR director? Or are you officially
No,
director?
I'm a co-director now.
You are a co-director.
It's
okay.
official.
Good. Co-director of HR here at Power to Change Ministries. And with that, I have our first question. But before I do that, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You are most welcome. So, what did you learn about yourself and your organization during the pandemic that was the biggest surprise to you?
I think we always knew we were resilient, but we didn't know the strength of that resilience.
Right.
So, because our ministry typically, in ministry, you're accustomed to having to pivot every now and then, but the extent and length of time to keep the passion and the tenacity on the mission as long as we have in the middle of so much change, I think that's what made us, that surprised us, I think, but also affirmed what we always knew.
Right. And actually on that, maybe we can talk about a little bit about what it is that you actually do at Power to Change.
Well, we're an organization, a Christian organization that helps people know Jesus and experience His power to change the world. So essentially we have 11 ministries under us, and each one has a separate kind of branding. So we have ministries that reach out to athletes, some reach out to local businessmen, some reach out to the disenfranchised. We even have one that is in Ottawa that reaches out to the parliamentarians. So it really does depend. There's student campuses, we're on campus as well. And we have women ministry, so it varies. We even have someone who does a Theo's Feast and ministers through food. So it's very cool.
That's awesome.
It's very, very cool.
Yeah. The reason I'm slightly smiling is because you're lighting up as you're talking about it. It's awesome. So.
Well, I mean, there's reason to be proud.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What would you say were the biggest challenges that Power to Change had to face over the last 24 months?
Well, one of the things I think was a real challenge is because our ministries are so different and they're coming at different facets throughout the organization, like they have a different mission agenda, it was hard to create one policy for everybody. Right? So thinking in terms of COVID, we had to, because some campuses required you to have masks and vaccines and other, disinfectant, some of the things you didn't need to. So how do we make one policy that suits everyone? We weren't able to do that to the extent that we thought we could, because we really had to be able to make sure that we were doing it so it didn't hinder or be cumbersome for the ministries. We still wanted them to be able to do what they do so well. And so we had to make sure that the policies we made were keeping our staff safe, keeping the people that our staff were ministering to safe, following the rules, but at the same time allowing them to have the freedom to share their passion with Jesus, right?
Right. Interesting.
John, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Yes.
Can I trouble you guys to sit a little closer together, because for some reason the video is only working vertically.
Sure.
And it wasn't working horizontally. So
I had some mints before we came, so I should be good.
So this whole live thing is occasionally fraught with challenges. So here we are.
Here we are. Okay. So third question. Organizational innovation emerged as a key differentiator for those who have gained ground during the pandemic. So with that, how did you innovate, or how did you witness an innovation that stood out to you?
Well, from a personal point of view, from a headquarters point of view, we're pretty innovative in terms of how we, what the requirements were on our staff. So prior to this, we had local hubs and we had headquarters, and everybody came into the office to meet together, and that was a very common practice. We actually had to pivot so that everyone was working remotely.
Right.
And so that was a real, and we had to be kind of innovative so that we didn't lose the inter-ministry passions or the connection that each of the teams had at headquarters. We had to keep that vibrant and alive. So how do you do that through Zoom?
Absolutely.
So that was, we had to be pretty, pretty innovative. We've had cahoots games, and we've had all kinds of things to keep people connected in that way.
Right.
And I know the ministries have had a lot of virtual things, like I know one ministry had a virtual scavenger hunt. Another one had, dress up day. So there were things that we wouldn't have typically done because we didn't have to. People were naturally together and they were okay.
Right.
But we had to find things and we had to make things to make sure our staff were still connected, because COVID required us to do everything over virtual.
Right.
And that's a challenge.
Cool. And you mentioned Zoom. What's Zoom?
Oh, I'm just kidding. My worst nightmare. Telling you, my worst nightmare. But it thank God, praise the Lord that we had that.
Sure.
That we could actually. So our business, our passion, what we do, and how we do it, actually didn't stop.
Right.
We were able to maintain what we've done. We had to pivot,
that's awesome.
and we had to make some changes. But the nature of our mission and the fact that we are, sharing the love of Jesus Christ, that still remained very high, even through Zoom.
That's awesome. Well done. Well done. Can I say that? I guess I should.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, last question. Resilience doesn't mean bouncing back to the normal. It means being transformed towards a new normal. What does it look like for you and what does that look like for you and your organization?
To be honest, I don't know if we've got that down yet. I think we're just starting to get back into it. Right now, we've kind of kept the status quo and wearing masks. I'm not sure that we have that pinned down. What I am sure in saying is that it's not going to be like it was before.
Right.
For sure. So our model in terms of people coming into the office, and it was going to be different. We are now going to have people who are going to prefer to work remotely.
Right.
That's just, and we're even thinking of hiring teams. We're now exploring the possibility of hiring somebody in Ontario to work on a team, and we're in BC.
Right.
That would never have occurred to us before, because the assumption is you got to be able to come into the office. With this whole Zoom thing and COVID, we've now actually realized there's other opportunities and further possibility. Because of the nature of what we just come through. So we haven't landed.
Okay.
I'm excited to see where we do land, because I think the change is going to be awesome, but I don't think we've decided on that yet.
Right. So more Zoom calls, that's what you're telling me.
Lots more Zoom calls. Lots more Zoom calls.
Lastly on that, as it relates to people, how did you find the mental health aspect during COVID? Did you see an impact on people's mental health during the COVID, during the last 24 months?
That is absolutely a big 100%. I found, and our leadership team found, that mental health was, if anybody was going to have if there was any concerns for anyone, it would be around the mental health area. Right. So we have never, as an organization, actually addressed that issue head on before. Now we've in the background, have always watched it and monitored it, but we've never actually went out there and said, we're going to address the mental health and the challenges around isolation, those kinds of things. And we have, and we've taken it head on. Wow. And I'm so proud of the fact that there's nothing under the covers anymore. Right. We're talking about mental health. We've got, we had pop-ups and we had people that, this is how you do, this is what you do. We've got an EAP that helps us with that. So we have done, our leadership have been remarkable in saying, you know what, we're not gonna cover code this anymore. We're gonna just talk about it so that everybody knows it's okay, and that mental health is not exclusive to them. There are a lot of people going through the same thing, and if we look at it by going through together, we're going to get through it. Right. And I think that is what I admire the most about our organization, and the leadership in particular, because they said, we're going to take it on, and we're going to do it together. And so I think but there has been a real serious effect of mental health on our staff, for sure, yeah.
No, but and to further that, I would say, so we're in the group benefits of business, as you know, and so our clients, I don't know if I can confidently say that there's one that hasn't been affected in some way with mental health. It's not just, it's not, this industry or that industry. As a whole, I think it's had a significant impact on society.
Yeah,
so.
And the thing the other thing I need to add, which makes me even proud of our organization, is because our ministry is primarily with people. Right. We're meeting people on campus, we're meeting people to help them, serve them soup, we're meeting people to go into the prisons. Our ministries are 100% people. When we were removed from that, because we couldn't do it anymore, you could feel your loss of self.
Sure.
But our staff never lost it completely. I think because their identity was always in Christ, so
Right.
they, you know, and with our leadership going, hey, let's talk about this. We didn't lose as much ground as we could have.
Right.
I think we held ourselves.
Cool. Awesome.
We held ourselves. Now we're gonna approach it again somewhat differently, but I don't think we lost.
Right. I don't have any questions. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, just that I'm really proud of the organization. I thank you for the opportunity to allow me to brag about it a little bit.
Absolutely. Well,
So
thank you very much.
Thank
You're
you.
most welcome. Thank you for your time, Deborah.
You're welcome. Okay.
Thank you.